My friend, success is not about doing more, it's about doing one thing differently. Most people believe that to become successful, they must add more to their plate, more hours, more effort, more hustle, more goal. They think the key is working themselves into exhaustion, juggling countless tasks, and chasing everything at once. But the truth is, success doesn't come from multiplying your actions. It comes from refining your focus. It comes from doing that one thing in a different way than before. Think about it. If working harder alone guaranteed success, then the hardest workers in the world would already be the wealthiest, the most fulfilled, and the most free. Yet we know countless people who push themselves to the limit, only to stay in the same position year after year. The difference is not the amount of effort, it's the direction of that effort. When you decide to shift one thing in how you approach your goals, your relationships, your career, or your mindset, everything around you begins to adjust with it. It may be the way you think about failure. Instead of seeing it as defeat, you start seeing it as feedback. That one change transforms every setback into a lesson, every obstacle into an opportunity to grow. Or maybe it's the way you use your time. Instead of chasing distractions, you commit to one focused priority every day. That single adjustment can turn wasted energy into meaningful progress. Sometimes the change is even simpler. It's the belief you carry about yourself. When you stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I will figure it out, you unlock levels of resilience you didn't even know you had. One thing done differently has the power to multiply your results. Picture a small shift in the angle of a rocket at launch. Just a few degrees off and it ends up in a completely different galaxy. The same is true in life. One new habit, one new belief, one new response to adversity can redirect your entire path. You don't need to do 100 things better. You need to identify the one thing that matters most and give it your best. That's where the breakthrough happens. By doing things the same way you've always done them, you'll keep getting the same results you've always got. But when you choose to shift your perspective, when you decide to take a new approach, even a small one, success begins to show up in places it never could before. The biggest change you need is not outside you, it's inside you. Too often people spend their entire lives searching for something external to transform their reality. They believe if they could just find the right job, move to the right city, connect with the right people, or stumble upon the right opportunity, everything would finally fall into place. But here's the truth. Changing what's outside you without changing what's inside you only gives temporary results. Lasting success, real transformation begins when you shift who you are on the inside. It's not the economy that determines your future. It's the way you respond to it. It's not your circumstances that dictate your destiny. It's the mindset you choose to carry through those circumstances. You could have the best resources in the world, but if your thinking is small, your life will remain small. On the other hand, you could start with nothing but a vision and a belief in yourself, and that inner strength can move mountains. When you change on the inside, your outside world starts to reflect it. Think about confidence. If you walk into a room doubting yourself, people can sense it. They respond to your hesitation. But if you walk into that same room with conviction, believing you belong there, people treat you differently. Nothing around you changed. The room, the people, the situation, it was you who changed, and that shift changed everything. Inner change is about taking responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, and your choices. It's about refusing to let fear run your life and instead allowing courage to guide you. It's about choosing faith over doubt, discipline over excuses, growth over comfort. When you shift your beliefs, you change the meaning of your past, the power of your present, and the vision for your future. So many people wait for conditions to improve before they improve themselves. They wait for life to be easier before they get stronger. But the opposite is true. Life gets better when you get better. The storm doesn't calm down for you. You learn to navigate the storm. The mountain doesn't shrink. You grow stronger legs to climb it. The change you've been waiting for has been waiting for you all along. And it starts the moment you decide to transform from the inside out. Change your mindset and your results will follow. Every achievement, every breakthrough, every transformation begins in the mind long before it shows up in reality. Your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape your results. If your mind is filled with doubt, fear, and excuses, then your results will mirror that negativity. But if you train your thoughts to focus on possibilities, resilience, and growth, you will begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles and solutions where you once saw problems. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck isn't just skill or talent, it's the way they think. Two people can face the same challenge. One sees it as the end, while the other sees it as the beginning of something greater. That perspective changes everything. Your mindset is the filter through which you experience life. And when you adjust that filter, the entire picture changes. Think about people who rise from impossible situations. They didn't do it because life suddenly became easy. They did it because they refused to let their thoughts be imprisoned by their circumstances. They decided that no matter how bad it looked, there was still a way forward. That choice to think differently created new actions, and those new actions created new results. When you believe you can grow, you put in the effort. When you believe failure is a lesson, you bounce back stronger. When you believe you deserve success, you start making choices that align with that belief. The mind leads and life follows. Success doesn't start in your bank account, your job title, or your social status. It starts in your thinking. So if you want different results in your health, in your relationships, in your career, or in your life, don't start by changing the world around you. Start by changing the world inside you. Replace fear with faith. Replace excuses with responsibility. Replace limits with possibilities. Because once your mindset shifts, your actions shift. And when your actions shift, your entire life begins to rise to meet the new standard you set in your mind. Your habits shape your future more than your circumstance. Too many people believe that their lives are controlled by where they were born, how much money they have, or what opportunities come their way. They look at their circumstances as the final word on their destiny. But the truth is, it's not the situation you're in that decides your future. It's the habits you choose to live by every single day. Circumstances may set the stage, but habits write the script. You can be born into struggle, but if you build habits of discipline, learning, and persistence, you can rise above any limitation. On the other hand, you can be given every advantage in life, but if your habits are lazy, unfocused, or careless, those advantages will eventually slip through your fingers. Think about it. Success doesn't come from one big decision or one lucky break. It comes from the small choices repeated day after day until they compound into something powerful. Waking up early to work on your goals, choosing to read instead of wasting hours in distraction, exercising discipline when others quit. These small daily habits quietly build a future that circumstances alone could never create. Your habits are stronger than your environment because they dictate how you respond to that environment. Two people can face the same hardship. One stays stuck because their habit is to complain, while the other grows because their habit is to adapt and push forward. The situation is the same, but the outcome is completely different, shaped not by what happened to them, but by what they repeatedly chose to do. Circumstances can change overnight. The economy shifts, people leave, opportunities disappear. But habits remain, and those habits will either sustain you or sabotage you. If you build the right ones, no matter what storm comes, you'll find a way through it. Habits of consistency, resilience, focus, and growth will carry you further than luck or privilege ever could. Your future isn't waiting for life to hand you better circumstances. Your future is waiting for you to create better habits. Because once you change what you do consistently, you change what you become eventually. Success begins the moment you decide to think differently. It doesn't wait for the perfect plan, the right timing, or the approval of others. It starts in that single instant when you shift your perspective from limitation to possibility, from fear to courage, from doubt to belief. That decision to think differently is the spark that ignites every breakthrough you will ever experience. Most people are trapped not by their circumstances, but by their mindset. They replay the same old thoughts, the same old excuses, and the same old fears. And as a result, they keep living the same old life. The moment you interrupt that cycle and choose a new way of thinking, everything begins to change. Suddenly, what once felt impossible starts to feel within reach, not because the world around you shifted, but because you did. When you decide to think differently, you begin to see opportunities hidden in challenges. Instead of asking, "Oh, why me?" you start asking, "Oh, why not me?" Instead of believing you can't, you start exploring how you can. That change in thinking doesn't just create new ideas, it creates new actions, and those actions lead to new results. Consider this: every invention, every business, every movement that has ever changed the world started with someone deciding to think differently. Where others saw problems, they saw solutions. Where others saw failure, they saw feedback. Where others stopped, they pushed forward. That same power exists in you the moment you choose a different thought. It doesn't take years to begin your journey to success. It takes one decision, one moment where you say, I refuse to keep thinking the way I've always thought. I'm going to choose a higher vision, a stronger belief, a bigger dream. That single mental shift is the doorway to the life you've been waiting for. Your circumstances might stay the same at first. Your environment might not change overnight. But the instant you think differently, you begin to live differently. You carry yourself with a new confidence, you act with a new purpose, and you attract a new level of results. That's the power of thought. It's the seed of every success story ever written. And the moment you plant it, your future begins to grow. The power of success lies in perspective, not conditions. Two people can face the exact same challenge, yet walk away with two completely different outcomes. One sees it as the end, while the other sees it as the beginning. One focuses on the pain, while the other focuses on the possibility. The conditions were the same, but the perspectives were different, and that difference shaped their destiny. Too often, people believe that they must wait for the perfect conditions before they can succeed. They say, I'll start when I have more money, I'll move forward when the timing is right. I'll try when everything lines up perfectly. But here's the truth: conditions are never perfect. Life is full of obstacles, delays, and setbacks. If you wait for the environment to favor you, you'll wait forever. Success doesn't belong to the one with the best conditions. It belongs to the one with the best perspective. Turns obstacles into opportunities. It turns delays into preparation. It turns failures into lessons. When you choose a perspective of growth, no condition can hold you back. Think about history's greatest innovators, leaders, and achievers. They didn't succeed because conditions were easy. Most of them began in times of struggle with limited resources and countless reasons to quit. But they carried a perspective that allowed them to see beyond what was and focus on what could be. Conditions can limit your options, but they cannot limit your vision. Perspective is the lens that shapes what you see, how you feel, and how you act. When you view challenges as stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks, you begin to rise above them. When you see adversity as a test instead of a punishment, you grow stronger through it. The same storm that drowns one person can teach another person how to sail. It all depends on perspective. Success is not built on the absence of problems. It's built on the presence of a mindset that interprets problems in a way that fuels progress. Your circumstances might look impossible, but if your perspective says that this is an opportunity to grow, to learn, to rise, then you'll find a way through. And once your perspective shifts, conditions lose their power over you, because you realize that true success is never about what you face. It's about how you choose to see it. Discipline is the invisible bridge between dreams and achievement. Dreams on their own are beautiful. They give you hope, vision, and something to strive for. But without discipline, they remain nothing more than ideas in your imagination. Discipline is what transforms desire into action and action into results. It's the daily commitment to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. So many people dream big, but live small because they wait for motivation to carry them. Motivation is powerful, but it's fleeting. It comes and goes with your emotion. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't ask if you're in the mood. It simply demands consistency. It's waking up early when the bed feels warm. It's studying when distractions call your name. It's exercising when you'd rather stay comfortable. Discipline is the quiet force that pushes you through resistance and carries you closer to your goals. Think of discipline as the builder of habits. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you lay another brick on the bridge that connects where you are to where you want to be. Over time, that bridge grows strong enough to carry your dreams into reality. Without it, your dreams remain stranded on the far side, unreachable and incomplete. The most successful people aren't necessarily the most talented or the luckiest. They are the most disciplined. They don't rely on occasional bursts of energy. They rely on systems, routines, and habits that keep them moving forward day after day. Discipline turns small, consistent actions into extraordinary outcomes. It compounds effort into mastery and persistence into victory. Discipline also teaches you control. It gives you the ability to resist distractions, overcome procrastination, and stay focused on what truly matters. It demands short-term sacrifice, but it rewards you with long-term freedom. Every time you exercise discipline, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses, bigger than your fears, and capable of far more than you imagined. Dreams ignite the fire, but discipline keeps it burning. Without that invisible bridge, you can see the destination, but you'll never reach it. With it, you can cross over from wishing to achieving, from hoping to having, from imagining to living the life you once only dreamed about. If you want your life to change, change how you see yourself. The way you view yourself sets the standard for everything you allow, everything you pursue, and everything you achieve. You can have big goals, powerful dreams, and endless opportunities, but if deep down you believe you are not capable or not worthy, you will sabotage yourself before you even begin. Your self-image is the thermostat of your life. It controls how high you rise and how low you settle. When you see yourself as weak, you act weak. When you see yourself as unworthy, you accept less than you deserve. But the moment you shift your self-image, the moment you begin to believe that you are capable, deserving, and equipped for more, your life begins to align with that belief. Change how you see yourself and you change how you show up in the world. Think about it. Confidence is not built from outside validation. It's built from the inside out. If you walk into every room doubting whether you belong, opportunities will slip away from you. But if you walk into that same room with the mindset that you are valuable, that you bring something unique, people will sense it. They'll respond to the energy you carry, and doors will begin to open. This doesn't mean arrogance. It means embracing your worth. It means seeing yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as a creator of possibilities. When you see yourself as someone who can learn, adapt, and grow, failure stop being the end and start being stepping stones. When you see yourself as someone who deserves success, you stop settling for less and start pursuing more. Your life is a reflection of the image you hold of yourself. If you believe you are small, your actions will remain small. If you believe you are powerful, your actions will reflect that power. Changing your self-image doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with a decision. A decision to stop repeating the old stories of limitation and start telling yourself a new story of strength, growth, and potential. If you want new results, you must first create a new vision of yourself. Because the person you believe yourself to be sets the boundaries of what you can achieve. When you elevate your self-image, you elevate your entire life. Small daily shifts create massive long-term transformation. Too often people underestimate the power of small actions because they don't bring instant results. They think that unless a change is dramatic, it won't make a difference. But the truth is, greatness is not built in one giant leap. It's built in small, consistent steps that compound over time. Every little adjustment in your habits, your mindset, or your choices adds up, and over months and years, those small shifts reshape the entire direction of your life. Think about water dripping on a rock. One drop seems insignificant, but over time, that persistence carves through stone. The same principle applies to your life. Waking up a little earlier, reading a few pages every day, practicing gratitude, exercising discipline, or choosing a positive thought instead of a negative one. None of these seem world-changing in the moment. But string them together day after day, and suddenly you've created new habits, a new identity, and a new future. Massive transformation doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. Anybody can push hard for a day or two, but real change is born in the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. Every time you choose progress over comfort, you strengthen the foundation of the life you're building. Those small shifts redirect your path, and even the slightest change in direction, and when sustained over time, can lead you to a completely different destination. Small shifts also build momentum. When you start with something manageable, you create a chain reaction. One good habit inspires another, one win leads to the next, and soon you're moving with a force greater than you imagined. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to start with one small intentional change and let it grow. The most successful people in the world didn't arrive where they are because of one lucky break. They got there because of countless small choices made consistently over time. They committed to daily disciplines that seemed ordinary in the moment but created extraordinary results in the long run. That's the secret. Success is hidden in the small shifts that you repeat until they transform you completely. The most successful people failed first, but they changed how they responded. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the journey to success. Every person who has ever achieved something great has a story filled with setbacks, disappointments, and mistakes. The difference between those who stay down and those who rise lies not in the failure itself, but in the response to it. Failure will test you. It will ask you, do you really want this? Are you willing to keep going when it gets hard? Are you strong enough to learn from this and try again? Most people see failure as the end of the road and they stop. But the most successful people see failure as feedback, as a teacher, as a stepping stone. They don't deny the pain or the frustration, but they refuse to let it define them. When they fell short, they didn't quit. They asked different questions. Instead of saying, oh, why me? They asked, what can I learn from this? Instead of saying, it's over, they asked, how do I adjust and come back stronger? That shift in response turned failure into fuel. It gave them resilience. It gave them wisdom. It gave them the courage to stand up again when others stayed down. Think about the greatest innovators, leaders, and entrepreneurs. Their first attempts were often disasters. Their ideas were rejected, their efforts overlooked, their results disappointing. But because they responded with persistence, because they kept adapting and improving, they eventually discovered the formula that worked. Every failure became part of the foundation that supported their success. Failure has no power to stop you unless you give it permission. What defines you is not the moment you fall. It's the decision you make after the fall. If you choose to see failure as a dead end, you remain stuck. But if you choose to see it as redirection, as preparation, then failure becomes the very thing that pushes you closer to your goal. The most successful people failed not once, but many times. But each time they changed how they responded. And because of that, failure didn't destroy them. It built them. It made them stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. Stop waiting for opportunities. Create them by changing your approach. Too many people spend their lives in a state of waiting. They wait for the right timing, the right connection, the right break to suddenly appear and change everything. But opportunities don't fall into the laps of those who wait. They reveal themselves to those who act. The moment you shift your approach, you shift your results, and opportunities that once seemed invisible begin to appear right in front of you. Opportunity is not luck, it's alignment. It's aligning your effort, your mindset, and your persistence in a way that allows you to see and seize what others overlook. When you approach life passively, you miss chances because you're only looking for something to happen to you. But when you approach life actively, with hunger and creativity, you start building doors where walls once stood. Changing your approach means refusing to keep doing the same things and expecting different results. If one strategy doesn't work, adjust it. If one path is blocked, find another. If no one is opening the door for you, build your own door. This is how innovators thrive, how leaders rise, and how ordinary people create extraordinary lives. They don't wait for permission, they take initiative. Think about the people you admire most. They weren't handed golden opportunities on a silver platter. They created them by preparing when no one was watching, by showing up when others quit, by trying again and again until their persistence opened doors that talent alone never could. Their approach was different. They didn't see rejection as final. They saw it as redirection. They didn't see limitations as barriers. They saw them as challenges to overcome. The truth is, opportunities are all around you, but your approach determines whether you notice them. Change your perspective and suddenly problems become possibilities. Change your habits and suddenly chances begin to multiply. Change your courage and suddenly risks turn into rewards. Stop waiting for someone to call your name, give you approval, or hand you a chance. Life doesn't work like that. Your future belongs to the person willing to create their own opportunity. And the key to doing that is simple. Change the way you approach the game, and the game will change for you. Fear will shrink when you change your focus to faith. Fear thrives on attention. The more you stare at it, the bigger it becomes. It paralyzes your mind, freezes your actions, and convinces you that the worst will always happen. But the moment you redirect your focus, the moment you choose to look beyond fear and put your trust in something greater, faith, vision, purpose, fear begins to lose its grip. Fear says, "Oh, what if you fail?" Faith says, "Oh, what if you succeed?" Fear says you're not ready. Faith says, "You'll grow as you go." Fear whispers that you're not enough, but faith reminds you that you already have what it takes. Both fear and faith demand your belief, but only one leads to growth. The one you feed becomes the one that rules your life. Complaining says, "I'm powerless." Action says, "I still have control." Complaining drains your energy. Action multiplies it. Every minute you spend complaining is a minute wasted, but every minute spent taking action is an investment in your future. The truth is, no one owes you a perfect life. Sure. Waiting for someone else to fix your situation is a guarantee you'll stay where you are. The people who rise aren't the ones who never had problems. They're the ones who refuse to waste their breath complaining and instead poured their energy into doing something about it. They turned obstacles into fuel, setbacks into setups, and difficulties into opportunities to grow. Action doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent. Even the smallest step forward is better than standing still. Action builds momentum, and momentum creates breakthroughs. You may not solve everything in a day, but you can start moving in the right direction today. Complaining doesn't build habits, but action does. Complaining doesn't create progress, but action does. Every breakthrough you admire, every success story you've ever heard began with a decision to stop complaining and start acting. At some point they said, "Enough is enough. I'm not going to keep talking about the problem. I'm going to become part of the solution." That's where real change begins. So remember, complaining may make you feel like you're doing something, but it leaves you empty. Action may feel uncomfortable at first, but it transforms everything. Your life doesn't change because you talked about it. It changes because you did something about it. Don't change 10 things halfway. Change one thing completely. One of the biggest mistakes people make is scattering their energy in too many directions at once. They try to fix everything at the same time: health, career, relationships, mindset, finances, and because their focus is divided, none of those areas truly transform. They make small, half-hearted adjustments everywhere, but those changes never go deep enough to create lasting results. Real transformation doesn't come from dabbling in many things. It comes from mastering one. When you commit to changing one thing completely, you give it your full attention, your full effort, and your full discipline. That's where breakthroughs happen. You don't just scratch the surface, you dig deep. You stay consistent, and you create a permanent shift. That single change often becomes the catalyst that impacts every other area of your life. For example, when you commit fully to changing your health, the discipline you build carries into your career. When you commit fully to changing your mindset, the way you think about relationships, challenges, and goals shifts along with it. Halfway change is temporary. It fades the moment life gets hard. Complete change, however, rewires your habits, your beliefs, and your identity. It sticks because it's not just about doing something new. It's about becoming someone new. You can't halfway quit an addiction, halfway build discipline, or halfway change your thinking. You either commit fully or you stay the same. Focusing on one thing also prevents overwhelm. When you try to change everything at once, the weight of it all eventually crushes your motivation. But when you zoom in on a single area, you simplify your path. You measure your growth more clearly. You feel progress more directly. That progress fuels momentum, and momentum makes it easier to take on the next challenge. Think of it like fire. If you spread sparks all over the place, none of them grow strong enough to burn. But if you concentrate the heat in one spot, it ignites, and soon the flames spread on their own. That's the power of changing one thing completely. It creates a chain reaction that transforms everything else. Don't spread yourself thin trying to do a little bit everywhere. Pick the one thing that matters most right now and give it everything you've got. Because when you change one thing completely, it has the power to change everything around it. Energy flows where focus goes. Change your focus, change your future. Whatever you fix your attention on expands in your life. If you focus on problems, you'll see more problems. If you focus on fear, you'll feel more fear. If you focus on limitations, you'll convince yourself there's no way forward. But when you shift your focus to solutions, possibilities, and growth, your energy begins to align with progress and doors open that once seemed invisible. Focus is like a magnifying glass. It takes the scattered rays of the sun and concentrates them into a single point strong enough to start a fire. Your mind works the same way. Scattered focus produces scattered results. Concentrated focus produces breakthroughs. Most people never realize how powerful their energy truly is because they waste it on distractions, negativity, and things they cannot control. But the moment you take that same energy and direct it toward your goals, your vision, and your growth, your entire life begins to move in a different direction. Your future isn't shaped by what happens around you nearly as much as it's shaped by what you choose to focus on. Challenges will come. Obstacles will show up, but two people can face the same situation and experience two completely different outcomes. One focuses on what they lost. The other focuses on